The average tour swing speed in 2007 was 112.37. In 2023, it's 115.08. Only about a 3-mile increase. However, that 3 miles has turned out to be 11 yards, with a total gain of 3 to 4 yards per mile an hour. Standing at 6 foot 175 pounds on the right side is Aaron Baddeley. Standing at 5 foot 8, 161 pounds, we have Rory McIlroy. Rory's clubhead speed is 123, Bad's is 112. Today we're going to take a look at why this is the case and how setup really dictates everything in the golf swing. So stick with me and let's find out together. If you do like this, hit that like, share, subscribe. Don't forget, this Sunday we go live right here on YouTube, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Send me your videos. We already got 5 people lined up for this Sunday, but there could be some more, so go ahead and send it to me. Link is in the description below. But now let's take a look to check your setup, specifically with the driver, because this is what separates both of them. So Rory McIlroy, Aaron Baddeley, they're about 8 years apart. Aaron Baddeley's the senior, and if we look at the average clubhead speed, Aaron Baddeley fits right into the tour average in 2009. However, he is behind the average now, and I know that Aaron Baddeley has in the past done some stack and tilt. It's not so stack and tilty anymore. It has gone in its own different direction, but clear off the bat, we can see one has more shoulder tilt, and if we draw in red, we're going to go right from the center of the chest straight through, which is 90 degrees from the tilt. We can see that both of these players do a really good job of getting their hands connected to that center of the chest, and both of those players have a forward shaft lean relative to their tilt. Now keep that in mind, relative to the tilt, because if you look at Rory McIlroy, you say that's not a forward shaft lean, Tony, but it is when you connect it to the spine angle, which is key. Now if you can carry that forward shaft lean down to impact and swing up on the ball, bam, that's where your yardages jump through the roof, and that's where the average golfer is trying to get to. And let's see how much of this forward shaft lean there is. Let's do this in our Barney Purple, because we're just going to do this one time. I know Barney Purple is a little bit hard to see, but we have 9 degrees on the left side. And what do we have here? We're probably going to see a number pretty close, and we have 8 degrees on the right side. So let's just call it even. Let's just call it a smooth 8, just like I made on the par 3 yesterday. But that's another story. Now, based on this setup, we can see the hand path if everything was just static. Now, I know that the golf swing is dynamic. It does move around a lot, and everybody's different. Remember, as long as you can repeat it, that's all that matters. So don't try and search for this. Don't try and emulate these. Look at your swing and see, can you repeat the same motions? If you can, at least you got a good, consistent ball flight. You can work from that. But what we're looking at is the path of the hands. So if we go perpendicular to the shoulder tilt, we can see that these hands are slightly different. One is slightly flatter. Now, in order for Aaron Baddeley to get to where Rory McIlroy is, he would have to start to increase his tilt. But you know what? Rory McIlroy still increases his tilt, which will then put that hand path even higher. But where you start is very important, because if you draw a straight line in yellow, and yes, we're going to clear these lines after this, but let's do a straight line in yellow from the golf ball straight up to, you know what? Again, we're paying $9.95. Let's use the tools that are given to us. $9.95. Bam, straight up to the sky. $9.95, straight up to the sky. What can you see that is different? The one on the right side is actually a good setup for the average amateur, because there's less angles that you have to manipulate. Everything kind of runs right through the hands and pretty close to that center of the chest. So we won't see a lot of motion back and right. And we do see that weight, which way am I moving? I'm moving the wrong way. We do see the weight is stuck this way for Aaron Baddeley. So if we draw another line, let's do this in yellow, we can see how much spacing is established. So if you take a look at where that lead foot is, a lot of space on the left side for Rory McIlroy, not so much space on the right side, but this is very important, because this comes down to ball position, and it's very hard for Aaron Baddeley to swing more up in the golf ball unless he moves his whole body. Let me make sure I get this right. Unless he moves his whole body this way, slides to his right, and stays back there to look kind of like Rory McIlroy is right now. So let's see what they do in the first part of the swing. We're going to take this back. We see that first move back. We see Rory staying in his spine angle. We also see Bads staying in his spine angle. Now, let's just look at the relation between that yellow line, which is the golf ball, and their spine angle. We can still see that they both maintain the same angles that they started with. They're both turning around that right hip, which is good. Now, you notice that Rory has moved his weight more over. So if we take a look at the left lead shoulder, now we're going to draw another yellow line. And I know I promised I'd get rid of these lines, but you know, it just looks so pretty. It looks like a Christmas tree. Let's go for that left lead shoulder, and we can see the spacing now. How much space does Rory have versus Aaron Baddeley? So we see one is wider. There's more tilt established at the start of the swing, creating a wider arc, creating a lot of momentum from right to left, where Aaron Baddeley is very centered. He got his weight still mostly in that center of the golf ball. There's probably a lot more weight distribution for Rory on the right side of his foot, where Aaron Baddeley is probably in the center, but he's still going to be able to push off. And we see both of them will drive their hip into that target. But this visual, hopefully you can see why he's able to hit it an extremely long way, even though he's giving up 4 inches on his height. Let's get that out the way, just on his height. But this next move, they both share. Watch that left hip. Their lead hip is going to drive. They're both driving their weight back into the target, so they look about the same in terms of weight distribution. However, look at the room that Rory has versus Bads on the right side. But the key for here is butt of the club to the golf ball line. On both of these, we can see that there is less time for Aaron Baddeley to strike this golf ball, because that ball placement relative to his tilting and his setup with the weight distribution has kept him more centered. So he will sacrifice some club head speed. And now, because we had an accentuated setup with Rory McIlroy, when we saw that right shoulder a little bit more down at setup, he is able, when he comes into the golf ball, he is able to now work more in to out and swing more up on the golf ball, because of that tilting has helped him do this. And we will see that when the club shaft versus the head on the left side versus the right side, even though the club is in the same position, you could see the amount of spacing is much tighter with Rory, because he's coming from a shallower position. He's able to swing more up and again increase the launch angle, decrease the spin. So let's clear up the lines. Let's go down a little bit more as we get down to the impact. Now we're in a similar position here in terms of the hands related to the tilting of the shoulders. So we're talking about this position here. You can see that spine angle versus this position here. We see the spine angle. So you notice the one on the right side, everything's a little bit more tighter. There's less angles going on. The one on the left side, there's a lot more angles. When you can increase those angles and you can start to manipulate your tilting, this is where you can really learn to swing up on the golf ball. And let's go one more frame. Let's clean up these lines here. Let's go one more frame as we strike the golf ball on both of these. Right about here, their hands are in a similar place, but we can start to see some differences. We've connected both of these to the club head, and we can see the one on the right side, there's more angles, which means that the hand has released, which is kind of catching up to the center of the chest, where Rory, because of his increased tilting, he's able to keep his hands more out in front of the chest, but that also came from the ball position. Let's redraw that tilt with the shoulders and then also the hand path. They are going to go along with that tilt wherever that tilt is pointing, and we can see which one is moving further up. It's going to be obviously the one on the left side, and this frame right here says it all. Let me move my face a little bit lower so we can see the club is in the same position in both frames, the same angles. But what do you see with the spacing on Rory on the left side? We have a huge amount of shoulder tilt, and the hands are perfectly bam, connected right in the center. Now, obviously, they are still going to be connected here, but we see the difference is that tilting is more of a turn with Aaron Baddeley. So if you can find a way to get your tilt to increase at impact and hold your hands out in front of your chest while you're swinging up, that all comes from ball speed, that all comes from proper setup, depending on your ability. So obviously, two very good golfers, two different styles of swinging, both can hit the ball a mile, both play exceptional golf. We have a veteran, Aaron Baddeley, on the right side, who's played on tour over 20 years. We're coming up to a veteran on the left side who has played on the tour for 15 or so years. Both excellent golfers. So there's no wrong way. There's no right way. There's only your way. So you are stuck with your way. Go get a coach ASAP and stop falling down the YouTube rabbit hole. And don't listen to anything anybody says, including me. This is just all information to show you how everything is so different. You need in-person instruction to truly get better. And if you can't afford it, Sundays, Red Light Live, 6 o'clock. Hope that helps you. I'll see you next time. Fairways and greens.